Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jasmine Powell. I am the communications specialist here at the Department of Planning in Baltimore. I am so excited for you guys to see what our UNC Moorhead Kane scholars have put together. And I'm going to open up with a brief overview of our department and what they do. And I will ask our director, Chris Ryer, to come and give that portion.
Hi, thank you, Jasmine. My name is Chris Ryer. I'm the Director of Planning, and I've been asked to give a brief overview of the Department of Planning. I like to categorize our work in sort of three buckets, and we have 6 divisions. One bucket, and the original bucket of the Department of Planning, is to oversee and manage the land use regulatory apparatus of the city of Baltimore. So we regulate land use in really 3 different ways. We regulate land use through major development projects. That could be through design review, site plan review, subdivision review, and a host of different tools for regulating development. We also regulate the historic preservation work of the city of Baltimore, including a major tax credit for historic renovations. And then finally, we regulate much, not all, but many of the environmental regulations that the city has, including those passed down from the federal and state government. We do that through a number of divisions in the department. We are a total of about 60 employees. The oldest division is called Land Use and Urban Design. That staffs the Planning Commission, which oversees the development review process for the city. We also have a division called CHAP that staffs the Commission for Historic and Architectural Preservation, that type of land use regulation. And we have the Office of Sustainability, one of the newest divisions in the department, that oversees a number of floodplain, critical area, forest conservation, environmental, other environmental regulatory work that we do. The department also does a select group of policy work. Probably the leading policy work for the city that the department does is in the Office of Sustainability, attempting to manage. For example, we do the FEMA natural disaster planning for the city, hurricanes and tornadoes and high heat events, those types of things. But we also deal with a number of other emerging environmental issues, particularly relating to climate change and the impact on the citizens of Baltimore. But probably one of the biggest policy issues we do is the capital budget. As you know, a budget is a policy document. You spend money on what you think is important to spend money on, and vice versa. So the department, as part of its role in regulating land use within the city of Baltimore, it coordinates the capital budget, the construction budget of the city of Baltimore. Then finally, the third bucket we do is in the community work we do. We have a community planning division that works closely with the Housing and Community Development Agency on revitalizing distressed neighborhoods. It also works through its Clean Core program and Green Network plan to enhance neighborhoods where there's been a lot of demolition, where there's been population decline, and serious quality of life issues. We have a program in that division that works specifically around schools, specifically new 21st century schools, we call them, which have had a substantial investment of state funding We want to leverage that funding to improve the neighborhood as a whole. So the Community Planning Division is probably the largest division in the city, and it's running a number of different programs also. Then we probably definitely the newest division, one of the first in the country, is a food policy and planning division, and that really looks at food insecurity. And you may be looking at the headlines today at how federal food security systems are being cut right and left, leaving literally thousands of people at risk in the city of Baltimore. So that's been a very significant addition to the department, particularly during the pandemic. So with that, I'll conclude a brief overview of the department and turn it over to you. Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon. We're going to take a brief 2 minutes to figure out a little bit of a technical difficulty, and I'll be right back. Good afternoon again. I will now allow our fellows to give their presentation.
Good afternoon, everyone. We are Project City Sprout, Baltimore Fellows working here over the summer, and I'm Elizabeth Allene.
I'm Sophia Fleury.
I'm Lauren Cooper.
And I'm Aria Ostener.
This summer, our team took part in the 8-week summer enrichment program that Morehead Kane, our scholarship, provided us with. We lived independently in Baltimore and worked with the Department of Planning, specifically the Food Policy and Planning Division, to understand the needs of the community. Through research, relationship building, and through hands-on work, we developed solutions aimed for long-lasting impact while also growing as a team and as individuals.
There are over 40 urban farms throughout Baltimore City and County, but they're tucked away in neighborhoods and alleyways and even sometimes in backyards. You never really hear about them. These are free community resources for fresh produce and for community gathering, and they deserve the same amount of care and attention as passion that went into their creation. Especially considering the many healthy food priority areas in Baltimore, it's critical that these urban farms are able to thrive for a healthier and more neighborly future. To guide our research for these past 8 weeks, we asked these 2 questions. How can we create support for Baltimore's urban farms, which provides them with prosperous and welcoming land fit for a blooming community? And also, how can we enrich the farm's technical knowledge and community engagement?
Cool. Yeah. So during this project, we conducted our project over 8 weeks. And in those 8 weeks, we had 6 stages that we laid out. For the first stage, we wanted to do research, where we essentially conducted a bunch of interviews through the Department of Planning and also just farms in general that we were given contacts for, where we understood more about the dilemma that Lauren highlighted. After that, we kind of started brainstorming, where we came up with ideas and solutions for this problem. After that, we went back to those people that we interviewed and we received feedback from those interviews, and we have some questions about the brainstorm that we had and wanted to understand if they had any thoughts. From there, we chose a solution, the 2-part solution that we brainstormed, and we incorporated that feedback and we tried to make it as attractive and useful to farms as possible. And after that, we looked at the project budget, looked at the prices and the funding that we had from our scholarship, and decided to implement and make our ideas a reality, which is the last stage and the stage that we're most excited to show you guys.
To better understand the relationship between Baltimore's urban farms and the city, we spent time on the ground talking with farmers and community members alike to understand the gaps between how these farms run and how they are perceived. One major theme that we saw across these many conversations was visibility and awareness, with many people expressing the disconnect between these urban farms and the people that their mission is to serve. Additionally, in many conversations with the younger citizens, they didn't even know what an urban farm was, saying, "What's that?" when we started talking to them. Another question that we commonly asked is, "What do you typically eat for dinner?" And more often than not, people would express that they cooked for themselves, but grocery prices are only getting higher and higher. Once we explained to people what an urban farm actually was, they were extremely interested in the green space and the produce that provided, with some even wanting to volunteer. Clearly, this is a resource that's not only needed, but wanted. The hurdle that we're facing is how can we truly get the word out there in the farms, this audience that they've wanted for so long? How can we help make farms more understood and better supported without compromising their current existence? To do this, we had one goal that we separated into 2 parts. It took a lot of brainstorming, but we're really proud of the ideas that we found. First, there's the internal aspect. What resources can we provide these urban farms that will allow them to continue to exist and tend to rich land? There's a communication component. How are they able to reach out to the people in their community, whether it be by text, email, or by in-person visits? Also with flyers, what are they seeing on a day-to-day basis that really gets the word out there? With land and funding, how can we make them aware of the money that can be allocated to them? And also, how can they apply for said money? On the operations end, how can we educate these farms on how to properly plant their crops and care for them, and also tend to their soil in a way that maximizes the nutritional benefits of what they're growing? For the external end, What do urban farms need to attract the public and become flourishing community spaces for healthier living? Of course, there's the awareness component of making a colorful and inviting gathering space for the community, a real community center, and also attractive flyers for people that increases publicity. As far as making the land lasting and the operations lasting, are we able to create a logo or beautify a sign that allows the community to see this and know this is a space meant for me? A welcoming arch, picnic tables for leisure, just to have your lunch one day, and also initiatives for cleanup and crop labeling so that not only the space is beautiful, but you're able to learn and know what you're getting into. We shared these ideas with farms, and they shared us invaluable feedback on what they felt was important and the most pressing issues facing their farms. First and foremost was acknowledgement. Many of these farms appear as private land, and that really causes people to let them go unnoticed. They don't want to go on someone else's land. Furthermore, these farms are often tucked away on the random plots of land that can be visually uninviting or unappealing. Despite this, the farms still have an intrinsic drive to serve their community, whether it be by offering fresh produce or just being another community space. Also, funding is tough to come by for these farms since the number of grants that they can apply for is lowering every single day, and grants that can be applied for non-project specific things, such as operations or staffing, are pretty hard to come by and look for. Yet, these farms have still remained as public resources, offering food, education, and green space without having the consistent financial backing that they need. They're truly just surviving and not thriving. We all know that teamwork makes the dream work, and this is another pressing issue for these farms, as the owners can't do everything. While volunteering helps, it's inconsistent and seasonal, and with this lack of funding, these farms are able to compensate people that they could potentially employ. There's a real need for resource allocation and just a clear guidance for these farms on how to navigate city websites, such as water access or land allocation. And beyond that, they need support on the technical side of farming, the importance of soil testing and connecting with their community. Seeing these patterns across multiple conversations with farms emphasize that these are critical topics and things that we need to tackle to help these farms not just survive, but thrive for time and time to come.
After concluding our interviewing, brainstorming, and research stage, we decided on a two-part plan. As Lauren mentioned, we learned that there were both internal and external parts of the issues that farms were facing. And we learned that every farm has a unique need and requires different kinds of support. But one central goal we had to and wanted to achieve was to create both a community-centered solution and an urban farm-centered solution. Within the 8 weeks that we had for this internship, we wanted to be able to make on-the-ground, visible and tangible impact, as well as a long-term, more sustained impact and goal that can help the urban farms thrive. So one thing we thought of was beautification, because that goes into making a visible, tangible impact, as well as creating a sense of community pride and adding a welcoming touch to the farms that makes them look not like private land, but more like a welcoming land. The second part that we thought of was an app that can help streamline managing the farm, as we learned that many of these farms have 1 to 2 urban farm managers and not a lot of volunteers, so they can use the help of an app to streamline managing the farm and bridge the communication channel that often exists as a barrier between the farms and city residents. So we ended up creating a 2-part initiative we called Project City Sprout. The first part being beautification, where we selected one local urban farm that we will get into in our later slides. We sourced affordable materials and implemented installations to really help beautify the farm and make a lasting impact. The second part being City Sprout, our app, which can also be found at citysprout.org, where we put together lists of grants and resources that can help with resource allocation to help sustain the urban farms, as well as templates that are free that can be used by the urban farms for flyers and partnerships that they can have with local organizations, compiled some information that they can use for farm technicals, and also integrated AI features that really go into the app. Now, the part of our project that was most important to look at and really dictated the feasibility and scope of our project was the budget. We were influenced much for our project by the amount of money we were able to allocate. But we had three main priorities. Within the 8 weeks, we wanted to make sure that we were able to make a realistic solution that can be implemented, one that was cost-effective from the budget that we received from our scholarship, which I'll get into in a second. And we also wanted to make an impact that would be easily replicable in other neighborhoods. We had a $1,000 budget from our scholarship, which we allotted $650 for beautification and $350 for the app. In terms of the beautification, the specific expenses went into building an arch, painting picnic tables, adding trellises for tomatoes, step stones to add a welcoming touch, and equipment we needed while installing all these things, such as gloves, painter's tape, and sealant. For the app, however, much of our expenses went towards server hosting, domain registration, image storage, database backups, and SSL certificates. But with just this amount of budget, we were able to make a lasting impact on one local farm, as well as a more long-term sustained goal that can help urban farms all across Baltimore.
We chose to work with Harlem Park for our beautification because from the beginning, we felt like their passion and their commitment to the farm was the most important part. The farm is led by Salome Meadow, and with the help of her husband, farmer Kenny, along with team members Linda and Michael. On our first Zoom meeting, I interviewed Sally, and I was immediately struck by her love for the farm and the community it was serving. When we shared our ideas, like crop labeling, picnic tables, and even just a trash pickup, she was extremely excited and enthusiastic. She even was interested in the organization and the outreach potential that we had with our app, citysprout.org. Throughout the process, the entire team of Harlem Park Community Farm was extremely involved by providing us with helpful feedback, welcomed our contributions with gratitude no matter the how big or little they were, and also just providing us with cold water on really hot days. Harlem Park Community Farm had an extreme commitment to urban farming, food insecurity, and food access, and then we just felt like they were the best partner for our project. It was such a pleasure to work with Farmer Sally and her entire team. For our resources, we thought it was extremely important to find resources that were affordable, durable, and were welcoming and functional for the farm. Because of our budget, we installed we bought stepstones for a functional path, an entrance path. We installed a picnic table for a community gathering spot. We got crop labels for identifying plants and trellises for support of plants like the tomatoes that were lacking. Also, we got a garden arch for a visual appeal and welcoming focus point. The stepstones, the gloves, the sealant, the rollers, the paintbrushes, and tape were all in one short trip to Home Depot, although the stepstones were a very hard workout. And then the picnic table, the paint, and the picnic table we got direct delivery from Home Depot. The paint we got also in Home Depot, and we aligned it with the colors that were already on the main sign of Harlem Park. And then the crop labels, the chalk markers, and the trellises and arch were all found on Amazon and came in 2 quick days. All of these items had clear and easy instructions, easy assembly, and were quick and fit our timeline. These pieces made the farm more visually appealing, but also more functional and accessible to the community surrounding Harlem Park.
Now getting into the installation and work of everything, we took about a week, which was a pretty short period of time, to really focus on beautifying the farm. The first day we got to Harlem Park Community Farm, we started off by picking up all the trash in the area. We had a big black trash can that we filled up with all the litter that we found in the area. And with even just doing that, it made such a big difference on how clean and welcoming the farm looked. And then we went ahead and added the stepping stones, which Sophia mentioned was definitely a really big workout. And then for day 2, we painted 2 picnic tables And we also worked on revitalizing the welcome sign, which we finished day 3, alongside adding the tomato trellises and painting 2 other picnic tables. Days 4 and 5 were really spent on installing an arch and doing the crop labels. It took a total of 3 hours to install the arch, but it was well worth it. And we were able to make the farm look more welcoming. So this is the outcome of the work that we did. So as you can see in the bottom left corner, we have the stepping stones that leads to the arch, really making a welcoming pathway for community members when they go to the farm, as well as really nice rest spots through the colorful picnic tables that we painted. There are a few others in the back that you could see or 2 others in the back that could see in the top right, as well as the arch. And we really revitalized the welcome sign. That is one of the first things people see when they drive by or walk by the farm. And on the top left corner, that's an example of the crop labeling that we were putting on all of the crops. For example, that's peppers, and we just really wanted to make all the crops easily identifiable by the city residents. One of the biggest impacts and most inspirational aspects of doing this work was the feedback that we got from the farm manager, Sally, alongside her husband, Kenny. Sally had been gone for the period of time that we were working and said it was the best farm ever to come back home to, saying that it's going to attract even more of their community members. And Kenny had also mentioned that 2 people had stopped by just within the first day when we had just put down the stepping stones and painted the picnic tables and had already wanted to take pictures, and that it had already looked so much more welcoming. And hearing them thank us for their hard work and how this really spearheaded all the other initiatives they were trying to do to make their farm more welcoming was really heartwarming, and it made us realize that just with a day or a week or whatever short period of time we had, we can make such a huge impact on Baltimore's urban farm communities.
We also had Kenny had my phone number, and he called me almost every single day giving me updates about the farm, like the 2 people who stopped by to take pictures, and he also updated us just like with his gratefulness, and he told us how much this would transform the farm for its future. And it was just very heartwarming, but also it showed us that only 5 days of hard work with small, easy, but intentional design makes such a big difference. And we hope that Harlem Park Community Farm can be a model for the future partnerships and work that Baltimore does.
Sweet. So I'd like to talk a bit about the app, which is the second part of our project. So we wanted to create something that would help farms through every step of the process of running and starting an urban farm, whether they've been doing this for years or they just started out. We also wanted to solve the problem of not having enough manpower. One of the biggest issues with these farms is they have a few people working for them. It's not well set up in the sense that they don't have like a full team to do a lot of these initiatives. So how can we do that without getting more funding to hire more people? And the way that we thought we could do that was with automation and the app. So we'd like to introduce City Sprout, which is the first AI-integrated urban farm management tool built for Baltimore farms. We give farms a CMS plus CRM. CMS stands for Content Management System, along with the CRM, which is a customer relationship management tool, and it's built for them, specifically Baltimore urban farms. So City Sprout, like I said, intuitively walks farms through how to start or run an urban farm. So we kind of start with funding and land, where we help farms find funding through our grant repository and our AI grant funder. And we'll walk you through all of this and show you screenshots, but we're also going to show you a live demo of how the app works, which I think it'll be pretty cool for you guys to see that. Next, we have farm operations, where we kind of help farms with how a farm actually operates, with a crop planner, a recipe generator, and more technical resources. Then we have the communications section, which is arguably the most important part of running an urban farm. It's what we were brought in here to do in the first place. One of the biggest issues is they don't communicate with their residents effectively because it takes a lot of effort, it takes a lot of time, and it's hard to do. What we wanted to do is we wanted to automate that, make that effortless and very effective, where they could reach every audience with the click of a button. And all of this is also with Sprout, which is our AI assistant, and we'll show you how that works. But there are AI-infused features everywhere here to kind of automate and make this process very, very easy. So we'll start with funding and land, which is the first section. And first, you'll see the Grant Finder. The Grant Finder is an AI resource. You'll see it on the left right here. And this resource basically helps farms find grants with the click of a button. It's seamless, it's effective, and it's really, really quick. They can just detail what they'd like to find, and it'll find all those grants you can see very much in the bottom left. And in addition to that, it'll have different details for the grants, the requirements, all of that, and it'll also draft up a proposal for that farm. Once again, it has details about the farm that the farm puts in, so it'll draft up a very specified, personalized proposal for that farm in the grant proposal. In addition, we have a grant repository, which Elizabeth can talk more about.
Yeah, so we created a grant repository that is a collection of city programs and resources that we researched. We split them up between project-specific grants. One up here that we have is the United Way of Maryland grant, and we really put down the specifics of how to apply to the grant. As Aria mentioned, things like eligibility and how much the grant is willing to fund the urban farms and what for is also put onto them. So we did project-specific grants and then also grants covering urban farms' basic needs. The Abelman Foundation is one example of that. Also, after talking with various people at the DOP and really recognizing some of the issues that urban farmers are facing, we realized that land access and water access were one of the recurring issues that were coming up, and it was sometimes just a matter of not just allocating resources, but figuring out which resources already exist. So there are various land access initiatives and water access programs that are provided by the city for the urban farms. So we really just gave detailed explanations for how to navigate these user interfaces and apply for water and land access, really to just help bridge the information gaps that sort of separate urban farms from the resources that the city provides.
Cool. Now, so going into the second part of running an urban farm operations. Now, the first thing that we'd like to give farms is the crop planner. And what this is basically a really organized way to track your farm's intake and outtake. One of the biggest issues with farms is they function more like community gardens than actual farms. With this kind of system, you can easily track the history of where your crops are going, who's taking your crops. And one of those things that unlocks is when you have all of that data, you can put all of that data into a crop planner, which will give you advice on the current crops that you have using AI, on what you should do to grow your crops better, how you should change your crops, the climate you should be growing them in, the kind of how often you should water them, all those different technical details. In addition, we also have like a recommended crops planner, which uses AI tools to basically say, these are the recommended crops that you should be growing in Baltimore's climate, and these are the suggestions on how to grow them. And once again, that all has a prompt that you can put in, and we'll show you how this works. In addition to that, one of the other things that having that data of what crops you're growing unlocks is the recipe generator. The coolest part about this is a lot of farms have issues with like generating recipes and writing all of those recipes for their consumers, and actually teaching their residents like, how do you cook the food that we're giving you? Once again, they don't have the manpower to write a bunch of recipes or write a bunch of documents that they can distribute to their residents. So what we wanted to do was make AI do it for you. We have a recipe generator where you can type in the type of recipe you want. You can add the crops that you have. And once you do that, it generates a recipe that you can then change, edit, and save to your database. And then you can publish it through the communications channels that we'll show you on the next slide.
We also have an all-in-one guide on the technical side of urban farming, so that you're not just planting seeds in the ground, but you're able to thrive and do a little bit more with what you're growing. Whether it's maintaining healthy land through soil testing or water access, knowing what and when to plant so you can keep your farm going year-round, the importance of beautification, like we saw before, creating a very welcoming space, and also emphasizing the importance of record keeping so you can track your soil test results, monitor your farm performance, and make a map for your visitors. Really just an all-in-one guide on how to really get your farm up and going. Next slide. Alongside the AI recipe tool that Aria mentioned, we also have a recipe repository with handcrafted recipes by Sophia and I. All these recipes are aimed to account for the My Plate format that helps you reach your 4 main food groups. The recipes feature ingredients that are SNAP accessible and budget friendly. They also include prep for the ingredients, the instructions on how to cook things, and optional customization whether you want different protein or an altered spice level. Additionally, at the bottom of every recipe is a little nutritional note, as you can see at the bottom of this page, to really give the chef some insight of the benefits of their healthy choice. You can customize your protein from chicken or tofu or even none. There's different difficulty levels, whether you're a new chef or you love to be in the kitchen whenever you can. And there's advice and instruction on how to care for your produce so that they not only taste the best in your recipe, but you can get the most life out of them.
Cool. So now going into the communications part of things, which is, like I said before, arguably one of the most important parts of running an urban farm. We created something called Echo Post. Echo Post is our way to communicate with your residents effectively and easily with the click of a button. You can create a post, add a title, change the description. You can see the description in the bottom left. And the coolest part about this is you can add crop surveys. One of the things that farms are failing at right now is they can't really gauge what their community actually wants. One of the issues there is if you're not growing the food that your community wants, how can you expect the community to show up to your farm? Issue is they don't have an effective stream of communicating with their residents and getting a Google form out there. But what if it was all integrated? And the way we did that is through crop surveys through the app, where you can select 2 different crop types and you can say, allow residents to choose between these 2 crop ties and tie it to an Echo Post. So when I post this post, it'll post the survey with it and track whether what people respond with, and you can see the analytics on the dashboard as well. And we'll show you how all of this works. The coolest thing about this is once I create an Echo Post, I can tie a recipe, a crop survey to that, and it will be texted to phone numbers and emailed to members and on the site live with the click of a button. It saves farms a lot of time because they would otherwise have to immediately just run through a list and text a bunch of people, which would clog your personal messages. But this is all automated. This makes it easy. This makes it simple. So yeah.
We also thought that it was important that urban farms also have communication with other organizations similar to like rec centers, churches, and gyms in their area. So for visibility and popularity, these partnerships could help with organization of resources, of events, and even just citizen awareness. So we created email templates and text templates to reach out to other organizations for these farmers to just copy and paste into an email or copy and paste into a text. And then we also we made some templates for flyers. So these flyers are completely customizable, and you can add in pictures, you can add in your name or any other text that you would like to include. And then we included them for just the farms, just for awareness of the farms, but also events for partnerships or just community events that they're having on their own.
Sweet. And the last part that we wanted to highlight before we walk you through the live demo is Sprout. And this is essentially our AI assistant that we've trained to help you with every farming related question that you might have. Whether you want to create a post on Echo Post to understand more about how you can help your community, or you want to understand more about the technicals of crop farming, you can ask Sprout. Sprout will answer your questions. He's ready to help and he's there for you. And we're really excited to show you how this works. So let's go into a live demo. Okay, so one sec. So when I go to citysprout.org, you'll immediately see the landing page that we created. Here you can read more about Project City Sprout, the things we did. You can see photos of the beautification work we did at Harlan Park Community Farm. So feel free to visit that in your own time. You can hear more about our story and the stuff that we've done. But the actual app is there when you click login. And the first thing you'll be greeted with as a member is basically just as like a community member, you'll see the different farms that are located near you. You can join these farms' mailing lists if you log in, which will mean that you will get text notifications or email notifications whenever they post something. If you go to My Memberships, you can turn off email or text notifications or just remove your membership entirely, which would be sad, but we're hoping people stay up to date with their farms. So that's kind of like the community view, and that's how people would subscribe to a farm to keep updated. Now, for the farm view, which is mainly the biggest portion of the app, you go to Manage Your Farms, and here's where you'd be greeted with, just like we said, the start to end of how you run an urban farm, starting with the Grant Finder. Now, the Grant Finder, like we said, basically helps you find a grant within seconds and writes a proposal within seconds. So if we just test this out, if I wanted water grants, I could ask it to write me a grant proposal. I could select organization type, grant focus, funding size, all of these different selects and filters. I could change those, and I'd check write a grant proposal. Once I ask Sprout to write me a grant proposal, it'll search the whole web to find grants for my farm, and just give it a second. Once it does all of that, it'll return a bunch of grants, and it'll be right over here. It wrote details about the grant proposal. It has the requirements, the benefits, and your proposal here, which it basically drafted up for your specific farm. So all that is really cool. It's pretty different from just basic GPT because this is actual object generation, which is you can't really do this if you just went to ChatGPT because it's now like kind of essentially everything you need to know about this specific grant in not just a text format. So it gives farms an easy way to kind of work through the grant writing procedure and the grant finding procedure.
On the right, you can see the grants that we compiled ourselves for sustaining urban farms, and this is a part of our grant repository. On the left, you can see on the top left, it has the amount of money that the grant funders will give. Most of the deadlines for the ones that we compiled are rolling, so a lot of these organizations or grant funders are accepting applications year-round, which we thought would be important for urban farmers. And you can find the link to applications as well as the eligibility that the urban farms are expected to have. And there's also an other resources page, which is a fuller version of our grant repository. On the left, we have the project-based urban farm grants, and that has a similar kinds of information, such as the grant amount, the eligibility, and a link to the application and to learn more. And on the right is really the specific things urban farms don't necessarily know about all the time, such as the water access program provided by the Department of Housing and Community Development and the Water Department, as well as the Adopt a Lot program, which basically make water access and getting vacant lot for urban farms a lot easier. So having more information about that is something we thought would be important to really just amplify the resources that already exist for urban farms out there.
Cool. So now into the next section, we have the farm operations, which takes you through crop planning. And here you can see the different crops that you have. You can create new crops. You can edit different crops. And just to show you the outtake intake feature, we can edit a crop. You can change the emoji, all of that. Edit that, do all of that, and then you can add in intake or outtake based on the operation that you want to do. So, for example, if I planted 200 seeds of corn or 200 Brussels sprouts, and it turned into, let's say, 90 Brussels sprouts that started growing, you could add in 90. You could add in a note saying planted for growth. And once you click update crop, it'll update to have 90, which plus 10 is 100. And if someone wanted to take 50 of those because they wanted to use them for food, then I could say 50 and taken by resident. And once I add that and I update it, once again, the whole thing will update. So this kind of keeps track of your intake, outtake, which makes it really easy to manage your urban farm in terms of the actual crops you're growing. Makes it really effective and fast. In addition, we have this crop planner, which I kind of touched on, which uses AI to basically help understand what crops that you can grow for your farm. So if I wanted ideal crops for my farm, I could click that button right there. Sprout would generate the ideal crops to grow on your farm. Things like tomatoes for Baltimore's right here, Baltimore's humid subtropical climate. Once again, it knows details about your farm, so it'll highlight those details and return results specifically for you and your farm and its location. Cucumbers, okra, all of those different things. When you go back to the crop planner, you can get advice on your current crops. You could ask me, give me growing details for each of these. And you could click advice on current crops. And once you do that, it'll return advice on the crops that you have. So tomatoes, once again, growing over there. It gives you tips on the technicals, all of that, corn, and Brussels sprouts. And these are really like personalized to the crops that you're growing and the stuff that you're doing on your specific farm. But we also have a farm technical section, which will highlight all of the research that we compiled over our time in Baltimore for farming technicals.
Yes, this is that all-in-one resource I was referring to before. And as you can see, there's so many different things to click on and learn from. So you can just click whatever is most interesting to you. Like let's look at garden beautification right here. And you can see, oh, you should regularly weed and install trellises.
Cool. So the next part of the farm operations section is the recipe generator and the recipes section. Now here's where AI comes in to generate recipes for you. So can someone in the audience tell me their favorite food? Anyone, favorite dish? Spaghetti. Okay, perfect. Perfect. So you put spaghetti in. If you wanted spaghetti, you can say generate me spaghetti or just type the word. You can add different crops that you have. So for example, if I wanted to include tomatoes in my spaghetti, I might make a marinara sauce. And then you could add more options for how you want the recipe to look, taste, and feel for your specific residents. If you're catering to a specific age group or specific group of people that wanted, say, more spicy cuisine, whatever, you can change that. And once you ask Sprout to generate this recipe, it'll generate you the spaghetti with tomato sauce and fresh basil recipe that you can change, edit all of that, change the description, download it, and save it as a PDF to distribute on your farm's page. You can laminate it, put it up on your bulletin board, or you could publish it inside the database and publish it with an Echo post, which I'll show you how that works later. It has the ingredients over here. You can edit, change the icons on all of these. And once you save the recipe, you can save it to your database. It just generated the recipe. You save it to your database, and it'll pop up there. So these are all the recipes that you've generated. You can save the recipe, all of that. And once you create your Echo post, you can basically go through and, actually, we have one more thing about recipes. We have a recommended recipes section.
So, as Lauren touched on earlier, we compiled a recipe repository. So, Lauren and I worked on making recipes and specific produce preparation instructions that align with the structure of the My Plate four main food groups. And these can be added to an Echo post or printed as a PDF for visitors. So, yeah, that's what we did for the recommended recipes that you will just be defaults if you can't, I guess.
Cool. Yeah, and you can see the nutrition notes over here on the page. And this is publicly available for anyone to see online if they wanted to look. But anyways, once I create that recipe, I think it accidentally didn't save because I clicked the wrong button. So I'll just type in spaghetti again. And I'll just have it generate real quick and I'll save the recipe. It'll take a second. And once it generates this, I'll just click save the recipe. It'll be saved in my database. So I see spaghetti with meatballs. And now when I go to an Echo post, I could say, take a look at our new spaghetti recipe. And if this was my post, I could add a description in here, or I could completely leave this out if I wanted to. I can upload photos, do all of that. And this is where we target basically every audience that we're trying to target with this one system. So I could add the recipe here, the recipe we just created, spaghetti with meatballs. And the next part is the crop surveys. And this is one of the coolest sections because the crop surveys allow you to gauge what residents actually want. So we can create a survey. You can see we created surveys in the past, but you can create a survey right over here where you can ask, say, if you wanted to learn what to grow at your farm in the future, you could choose between olives and, let's say, cherries. If there's only a certain amount of space for certain crops, you could choose between olives and cherries, and you can add 3 more choices up to 5 total if you'd like. And once you create that survey, you have to add a title. Sorry about that. I'd say olives versus cherries. You add that title, you create that survey. It's generated here. You won't see anything on the bar chart because there are no responses. Sorry, I have to move this thing right over here. But once you go back to here, you can add that survey that we just created right over there, olives versus cherries. And now that'll appear when I create my Echo post. So once I click post, it'll be posted. Take a look at our new spaghetti recipe. It just got posted, and you'll see the poll right up there on the landing page or on the farm's page. And once again, this is texted to emails and texts. We're on a different computer right now, so I can't show you my text, but it just got emailed to me. I can check right here. I just got the email and the live link. And now once you're over here, you can select whether you want olives or cherries, or you can select both if you'd like both. And once you click submit, say I wanted both, thank you for responding to the poll. If I reload the page, I can't respond again because it tracks my replies and makes sure that I can't spam respond. So that's Echo Post. Basically sends everything right here. You can set posted successfully, sent to members' emails, sent to members' phones. It's very effective, it's very fast, and it saves farms from having to do a lot of work with communications. Additionally, you have the communications members section where you can see my email, my phone number, and the day I joined, everything about me. And you can also remove members from your community if you'd like, if they're causing issues, and all that. Basically, just manage your community very effectively on a roster type system. So yeah, and then we also have some other parts of communications, which include partnerships and flyers.
So in the partnership page, we have templates for both emails and texts for them to reach out to other organizations to partner with them. So these farms can come in, basically just copy and paste the subject into the subject line on an email, and then copy and paste the body, fill in their whatever the church's name is or the rec center's name, or just the gyms in the area. So anything can be totally personalized to the farm. And also down here we have the text that can just be a follow-up for a call or just to start partnerships. So we thought those were important and that those are just easy to copy and paste for the farms to use for themselves.
And next, right under that, we have all of our free and customizable flyer templates. Just go down a little bit. So we have 5 that are here to just advertise the farm. And as you can see, they're pretty beautiful, and you can add whatever elements or pictures, fonts, whatever you like, because Canva is a free software. When you open up these templates, you'll make your own version, so you don't have a ton of people editing on the same document. And then down here, we have 7 that can advertise for a different farm event, with the same level of customizability.
And lastly, I promise we're almost done with the app demo. We have a few features, just like logistical things about your farm. You have the farm settings page where you can edit your description and add in different things about this. The coolest thing about all of this text is I actually asked Sprout to generate it for me. So if I click Command K or I just highlight this and click that button, I could ask Sprout, generate me a farm description for my farm. And right over here, it'll generate me a description. I can copy that and paste that into that description box over here. I have to highlight everything. I can paste that in. I have to delete it first. And once I click paste, it's pasted in. And that's what Sprout just generated for me. And like we said, we have this AI assistant that'll help you with anything. So if you're in the recipe section, the farming technical section, the crop planning section, it can really just do anything for you. And it's that traditional kind of chat UI that everyone's familiar with from ChatGPT. And once you click save, your changes are saved and you can see it on the public page. And this is the coolest part. If I go to test farm, I can see details about my farm, just like the posts I just made, the Echo post we just made about take a look at our new spaghetti recipe, the different recipes that we have, the spaghetti with meatballs, I can download this as a PDF and put it on my farm's page, and the farm description over here. So if you look at any of these posts, you can see the recipe, the survey, the images all over there. And the cool thing about all of this is we have light and dark mode as well, and it's just really easy for farms to do everything in this one place. So yeah, we'll leave it on dark mode for the rest. But that's basically it for the demo.
So, thank you. Let's see. Well, we are now officially done. We hope you enjoyed learning about our 2-part initiative with both the beautification and the app. We have our names and contact information via email here, so if you'd like to reach out to us about anything, feel free to do that. We also have a QR code and the link to our app and website, City Sprout. And yeah, we can take any questions that anyone has, so thank you for listening.
And we've had a great time this summer.
Yeah,
so thank you for hosting us. This has been amazing.
We're hoping that the projects that we do in Baltimore and everything after can be replicated. The beautification can be applied to every farm here. That's the goal for the future. And we already sent out emails this morning to get farms on the app. And we've already had signups. So people are going to start using it within the next week. And hopefully in the future, things are looking on the up for urban farms. So we're excited to see what happens from here.
Yeah, thank you. Yes.
One quick question. I'm assuming the app is free?
It is 100% free, and that is done through the Moorhead funding that we had. So we funded the app for a year, and from there we're going to work with the city and potentially any other supporters from local nonprofits to essentially use their 501c3 status, leverage that to essentially get more funding from larger tech companies.
And just amazing. Amazing, 8 weeks. I mean, I don't, I hope one of you someday runs for office.
I just wanted to say that I am so very proud and impressed with the work that our scholars have completed here. I look forward to a long partnership with you guys and the City Sprout app and the city. I will be pushing for the city to boost this. I hope you make $1 million some type of way out of this. And I will. We do have a parting gift for you guys. You could choose which plants you want from the planter. I don't know what everybody likes, so we have a selection. And again, feel free to reach out to DOP for any assistance you may need. Food policy and planning team, I'm sure they're excited and proud about your work. And
I've been texting them. I know about it.
for those online, thank you for joining us today. We're getting ready to close the meeting virtually so that we can have some lunch. And again, thank you so much.
Should we open it up to questions?
Oh, yes. If there are any questions, you can put them in the chat.
Or if
There will be a recording of this presentation and the link will be shared out. And it will, of course, change the view. You'll be able to see everybody from the front. And we'll probably attach copies of each presentation to that recording as well so that you could have everyone's contact information. And thank you so much.
Suggestion for a future integration feature for the app is being able to use the crop survey and the crop intake data to do their grant reporting and applications, because that is something that comes up with grants during the application process, and then also as a requirement if you're awarded to know how much pounds of produce you have grown, and also to have data reporting on like how many people you have given that away to, or how many the impact it's had on the community. So that's a app feature you could integrate into the future, and I on my side will be pushing as much as I can to support this and also share it with the farms that I work with here in the city. And I'm very, very impressed and very proud of you all.
Yeah. And now we're going to have another word from our director, and I think Sophia wants to say something first.
Thank you, Najla. I must admit, I'm blown away by what you accomplished in such a short period of time. So it must have been a great team effort, because you couldn't have done this by yourself. You guys were phenomenal as a team. And I'm glad the city of Baltimore and its residents supported you. And I think you've really provided something back that will support them. So I want to thank you. I am a little worried. My last job, I was a director of a nonprofit where I did a lot of grant writing, and I'm starting to see my profession being automated. But you've done a really great job here and really opened my eyes towards some of the future. Thanks again.
We wanted to thank everyone for coming, obviously, and for having us all of these 8 weeks. But I also wanted to give a special thank you to Farmer Sally. She just showed up, and I just wanted to say thank you. It was like awesome working with her farm, and she is such a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful soul, and we loved it. So, yeah.